how does someone like improve, say, running form like on a basic level? So they're working on glutes, they know they need to work on better foot strike and maybe work on the hips, it sounds like, too, because you do have some people that step over on the other, thinking of the straight line again.
Yep.
Is it strength training is the answer? But, you got people that do like strength training. Some don't. Some are very good at it. What's like some key 3 small wins they can do?
Yeah. I would say number one is going to be strength training, and not just strength training, but strength training in a single leg way. So doing step ups, doing like split lunges, doing like single leg RDLs. Running is a single leg activity, so that needs to be mimicked with your strength training and your cross training. So I would say that would be the biggest one, just because it is such a single leg activity. The other one is, so a lot of people kind of think of cues and different thoughts that go through your head whenever you do run. And I would say to not think too much about your running form, right? I know it's like easier said than done, but if you can just give yourself one thing to focus on, if it's just standing up tall, or if it's just trying to prevent kind of your hip swaying, or if it's picking out that dot on the road and saying don't cross your feet over, just picking out one thing can do more, like I said, up or down the chain. Because if you're thinking like, oh, I need to bring my shoulders up, bring my hips forward, bend my knee a little bit more, land this way, then you're just going to be throwing everything off, right? So really just focusing on one thing, and it doesn't need to be all the time. It could be, okay, whenever you're get to, or when you cross another runner or you see a dog, just think about that one thing, to do it for a couple seconds, especially when your form starts to break down on those longer runs, you're getting fatigued. Just go to that one cue, because that one cue can help out many different areas.
Yeah, I love that. That's been one of the biggest things that's helped me recently, is really the cue more than anything. And to your point, at first I was like picking 3-4, and it's like, okay, I can't do this while running and also think about my pace and training. It's like too much.
Exactly, and your route and where you're going. Yep, and looking, okay, what's my heart rate, what's my pace?
It gets crazy. I've kind of just blended it into one. Funny you say that, and this is going to be a funny one for anyone listening. Hey, it just works. Maybe Hunter, you can share some, but for mine was thinking of Sonic the Hedgehog. Right, you see how he has that slight forward lean when he's running, but his like legs are turning under him in a circle. That's my cue.
Okay, I like that. I'm gonna have to start using that.
I don't know how I got that. I was thinking of it at one point, and I was like, it just hit me when I was looking some stuff up. Because my issue was, you mentioned one of them was quad dominant, and I wasn't cycling enough. And then I was like, man, I can't quite figure this out. And for some reason, Sonic, at the time I was doing some research, popped into my head. I was like, that's a good way to think about it. Just turn, as opposed to like trying to pull forward.
Yeah, I like that. One thing that I do too, that I kind of recommend for runners, especially if it's a cadence issue, so it could have been with you, or if you're kind of targeting a certain cadence, so say you do need to start cycling through a little bit faster, okay, figure out what your cadence is. Say if it's 165, okay, let's go to Spotify or wherever you listen to your music, and let's pick a playlist that has 170 beats per minute. So that way you really don't even think about it. You're just going on the beat. So that's an easy way that you can work on your cadence without having to think about, okay, I just need to cycle through fast.
Yeah, it's a good point. You could just listen to your favorite songs while you running at the BPM you need to run.
Yeah, exactly.
On the subject of cadence, for those listening, how important, especially from a physical therapist standpoint, is cadence to the whole running chain?
Yeah, I would say it's variable on the runner, right? So cadence is how many steps you take per minute, and there's 2 things that affect cadence. 1, your speed, and 2, your leg length or your height. So if you have somebody that's 6 foot running beside somebody that's 5 foot at the same speed, the person that's 5 foot is going to have a faster cadence compared to the person that is 6 foot, just to keep up with that same speed. So obviously we can't control our height, but we can control our cadence. Cadence is important when it relates to foot strike pattern. So if you are somebody who is overstriding and landing with that knee extended, kind of like what I already talked about, that typically happens with somebody who has a very low cadence. And recommended, there's plenty of different research articles that are out there on the internet of what cadence should be. I usually tell people it needs to be between 160 and 180. And so when I'm working with runners, I'll look at their height and their speed. So if they're a taller runner who is faster, then I probably, I expect them to be closer to that 180. But if they're slower and taller, then they're going to have a kind of slower cadence, so it's going to be closer to that 160 side of things. So I pair it with their run form. So I don't say, okay, you need to be this, right? Because it all depends, again, on your speed and how fast you're going. If you're not overstriding and if you're not having other ways of form breakdown in your running, then okay, we're going to keep cadence, whatever it is. But if I do see a situation where I think they could benefit from either speeding up or slowing down, then I'll recommend it, pairing it with the running form. So it is important because it can relate to injury, but again, it's specific to each individual runner.
No, that's why I asked, and I love that you broke it down that way because often, the assumption is 180, 180, 180. Whether it be Coach
Mm-hmm.
Daniel's old school stuff or just the elites and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It depends, like you said, on running form, shorter, taller. So, you're hearing it here from the doctor. uh, yes,
Yeah,
it's
and
higher is
that
good, but it depends on.
yes, and that 180, where that number came from, was from a study done on Olympic marathon runners. Which is okay, great if you want to be an Olympic marathon runner, then yeah, running at 180 is probably going to be the best for you if you are an Olympic marathon runner. Who's an Olympic marathon runner? Not me, and not 99% of runners out there, right? So that's where that number gets kind of confusing.